Welcome back to the most professional StarCraft 2 with the 9-time GSL champion Terran in the red, the man, the myth, the Maru. Up against the most creative Terran player out there in the blue, the Admiral. It's GuMiho. A best of 5 all-Terran showdown with something for everyone. Because if you like watching Terrans win, or you like watching Terrans lose, we've got you covered. And hopefully, you'll be tearing up that like button. And maybe even subscribe. And Jimmy, what are we at? Jimmy. Nope, mirror matchups can be fun. 1,487 likes on this video, on this cast, and I'll cast another one. While these two are still playing, I'll probably do it anyways. But thank you for watching. Hopefully, you've had a good day so far, and hopefully it's about to get just a little bit better. Like every patch note for the last several years, I must, at least for a bit, talk about the Cyclone. The Cyclone is back to the future. It is built off a tech lab. It does a lot of damage. It outranges almost everything once it locks on. And it destroys pretty much all of the early game in Terran versus Terran. And by destroys, I mean spices up. Well, GuMiho, to devastating effect, has used the Cyclone against Terrans, Zerg, and Protoss alike. Something about the old new Cyclone is really resonating with GuMiho's more... You know what? I saw the best backhanded compliment for GuMiho that someone commented just the other day, I think in his match against Clem. GuMiho is the only Terran player that looks like he's playing a strategy game. Why do I say backhanded compliment? Because usually Terran players like Maru or Clem are complimented on their mechanics, their ability to execute pretty much the same build order that they've done for the last 10 years. Whereas GuMiho over here is crafting a new star build every time, and now the Cyclone is on the way, and we'll see how much mileage he gets out of it. And for 100 gas, you better hope for a lot. A Raven behind it. Now we're on King's Cove. Welcome back as well. The largest map in the new old map pool. A lot of time warping we're doing lately, but double gas for both sides. Neither player interested in moving out and risking their army in the middle of the map when anything could be going. Did either of them scout? No. No. The first, well, I guess they sent out SCV scouts, but only the first Reaper now is being sent across because you don't even want to risk losing that first Reaper until you have something back at home to defend, as there's so many ways to circumvent that defender's advantage. Alright, Cyclone locks on and obliterates the Reaper, but of course, that gives away the fact that there's a Cyclone, so I guess that's something. Interference Matrix is on the way from Maru. It's like we're just going to have a full-on build-up here in game number 1. As Maru, perfectly happy to sit back, and GuMiho, okay. Oh, he's going mech. A second factory is in production. And slaps down another... Wow, GuMiho taking us immediately to McDonald's. 2 more racks on the way from Maru with the, well, more conventional bio plays, though he is going for the interference matrix on the Ravens. The ability to lock down mechanical units and technically psionic, which include Ghosts, Queens, High Templar. It is a very incredibly and amusingly rare case when it's used for that. And I doubt there'll be the opportunity here, but I just wanted to demonstrate my knowledge of that fact. Archons as well. One of the more common ones. But again, the standoff continues. Just like Bronze League heroes, both players in TVT will sit back and build up their ideal armies, and then maybe in like 5 minutes we'll fight. A scan will spot everything relevant on GuMiho's side of the map. Maru now knows about the factories. He knows about the reactored starport, which means there aren't more Ravens on the way. GuMiho thinking about dropping down his 4th command center on location. Maru already has his mining. So it's going to be... Wait, is he even going bio? Yeah. Wait. He has 3 barracks and he's not building any... What are you, Maru? I was like, that mech idea seems pretty cool. But you don't just build 450 minerals of barracks and then just ignore them, right? Right? Somebody invested in fax machines in 2001, it seems, but wow, Maru's actually Who does that? I've never seen that dramatic of a tech switch out of a Terran. At least like the token Marines, but no, he's not even bothering. All right, the first fight is coming together. GuMiho does not have interference matrices. He's backing off now. He's faking like he does, but all he has are auto turrets. Turrets slapped out on both sides. Vikings on the deck, scrambles the tanks. And, well, GuMiho's tanks are struggling to move forward, obviously, as they're sieged up, but also that interference matrix doesn't quite get the auto turrets. But GuMiho is enough on the ground to power through. 16 SCVs were pulled and killed. And GuMiho doesn't have a third command center behind this, or at least he just started it. So we need to get some damage done. And I think damage was did. Now Maru is forced off of his third base, has to retreat to the natural while GuMiho is taking his third. So GuMiho has gained this position with a decisive victory despite not having interference matrix on his Ravens. He's able to turn it around. And now he's going Magfield Accelerator on the Magfield Cyclone damage upgrade. Okay, for those who do not know. And 2 starports behind. Take it to the skies right now. GuMiho is going to lose the Viking battle. He can't land the Vikings. He's over dead space. There's one Marine. That one Marine trying so hard, it might actually help kill one of the Vikings. I think that one Marine adding damage made this less devastating. But now the scan and counter scan action hits the deck yet again. And trying to move forward. The siege tank's coming up again. GuMiho, unsiege tanks on the ground, just bashing through. There's no anti-air to deal with the Liberators, though. And with only 2 Vikings on the ground against 2 Vikings in the air, I don't think that's enough for air superiority, to say the least. So GuMiho, in the most fiercely Terran fashion, will try to shove his way in with landed Vikings and unsieged tanks. But, and now, when do you ever see that? Just a bunch of tanks roaming around, and it's not a mistake. It's a strategy. And Cyclones. Wow. Okay. And a Venn dia scan out of Maru's actually kind of panicking. Because GuMiho, you don't know what he's giving you the crazy eyes. He might walk up here. Next is going to be a bunch of Hellbats or something. No, it's going to be Cyclones and Vikings to combine with the tanks. He is starting to build Vikings in order to challenge the air. You very simply, if you're going mech, you do not have a lot of built-in anti-air. All of your anti-air costs gas. You don't have Marines. What? So Maru is turning his barracks into barracks lords. Those 3 barracks that he built, and I think those 3 barracks are the reason he ended up taking so much damage. It slowed down the rest of his infrastructure. GuMiho just hanging out with like 10 siege tanks. But the Vikings are coming across. The Viking count. 12 to 6. GuMiho's twice the Vikings. Oh, wow. Anti-armor missile I don't think changes this too much, but he scrambles a couple Vikings. Not all of the Vikings for GuMiho are here either. The Liberator's now sieging up. He's just going to target the Libs. And he just obliterated the command center. Objective accomplished. Even if he loses the air war, which I'm not convinced he will. He just killed the command center with the tanks. GuMiho. Wow. He's got a couple Cyclones with their mag field done with their little laser eyes there, but apparently he didn't need it. A scan, Maru in disbelief. Trying to figure out what's going on, but GuMiho is 3 steps ahead of him. He's like, GuMiho's incredible strategy. What if I just attacked? What if I just built a bunch of tanks and Vikings like it was 2010 and attacked? Well, here we are. Meanwhile, the Cyclones will lock on to some of the SCVs. Maru still technically has a supply lead, though the majority of it is in workers at the moment. I mean, GuMiho starting to overtake. GuMiho expanding to most of the base on his side of the map, clearing out the scouting barracks. The incomes have been in Maru's favor for most of this, as he had the orbitals to work with. Maru actually landed... Come here often? The cold shoulder. Cyclones helping with the patrol. Scans on both sides. Smart servos. GuMiho's getting smart servos to land his Vikings and pick them up faster. GuMiho uses these upgrades, like Caduceus Reactor and smart servos, more than the next 5 Terrans combined. All this utility that most Terrans don't even bother with. But here we go. He's going to try to wipe them out of the sky. He can land on top of the tanks, just shoving forward. GuMiho has total air superiority. The Vikings are on the run. But where could they run to? Well, now some Cyclones from Maru, clearly inspired. Auto turret slapped down. Ravens taken out. GuMiho pushes him back to his main, onto his starports. Though this fight is looking a little rough. The Vikings are hunting him inside his own house. A couple Tech Lab starports. Ravens in production for Maru. No fusion core. Battlecruiser's a legitimate option, though. A very, very... Oh my god, the smart servos Vikings just dunked down. Though, +1 plating really paying off there. And now more Vikings on the deck. Oh, wow. The armories are vulnerable. He picks up again. Maru's Vikings had to drop low in submission, acknowledging GuMiho's air superiority. Meanwhile, the mineral lines are not safe either. Thors are in production for GuMiho. A Raven's out. The Cyclones and tanks will eventually deal with it. GuMiho throws away his Vikings for the most part. He's got some Liberators here. He's shoving in on another command center. He can't really lift it because then the Vikings will take it out. Cyclones lock on, knock out Liberator. More air control. More Vikings coming in. The tanks, Vikings on deck. Turrets slapped down. Cyclones annihilated. 28 SCVs dead. More Cyclones coming up for GuMiho to turn it around. Still 1 Viking on the ground. A bit of vision for Maru is enough. He holds for now. But GuMiho counter scans and forces the lift. And there are no more Vikings to knock that... Wait, no, I lied! Here come the Vikings. Now that's the commander I've been waiting on. Well, actually, no. 3 Vikings get knocked out of the sky by the Cyclones easily because they do ridiculous damage. They're just glass cannons in almost every sense. But GuMiho! A fusion core in advanced ballistics doesn't really make any sense right now. It's for battle cruisers? Yes, okay. It's not, we're not there yet. GuMiho has a ton of money in the bank, but he's struggling on supply. He's not actually producing right now. Whereas Maru is spending all his money, but he's just trying to tread water at the moment. What a game. Started off with a bit of a slow burn and then exploded. And now GuMiho is on Maru's door. What I really appreciate is how Maru saw what GuMiho was doing and abandoned his composition. That is quite a move. And it almost cost him, but I think it's paid off now. He saw that GuMiho was going for the full mech Terran. GuMiho, if anyone was going to mech Terran great again, obviously. But Maru shifted into this kind of hybrid Sky Terran mech Terran composition. And he's holding. He's going Mass Raven, and the upgrades are nothing to sneeze at either. 2-2 is already done for Maru's army. He's working on +3 mech weapons. 3 battle cruisers are in production for GuMiho. Right now, Maru, though, has 7 Ravens, and each of those Ravens is able to scramble with interference matrix. At least one of these units. He scrambles the entire siege line. Just wiped from the field. Honestly, GuMiho was probably wondering when that would happen, or something of that nature, as he did not pull the tanks back. They were there for the long haul. And now Cyclones, Hellclones coming across the map. This battle mech composition. 14 Cyclones, 10 Hellbat/Hellions. GuMiho's got Thors on the field. Chew Toy Depot serving its purpose. He's going to try to kill some SCVs. Not sure how valuable that is, considering the amount of command centers on the field. Yeah, the Cyclone... Oh my god, they do so much damage. The Cyclones just knocking things out. I was staring at the production tab, but the Cyclones just ruin everything. As Maru now is working on 3-3, he's building 3 more factories. The Industrial Revolution is almost completed. He's going to have Octofact. And how many starports? 3 starports. Meanwhile, Yamato Cannon is coming online. The Vikings. 9 Vikings and 3 battlecruisers alongside 2 Thors. There are 7 Ravens, which could be enough. He's just gonna go for it. He scrambles the siege line, and there's no cover to take out the Cyclones. The Cyclones will just knock the battlecruisers out of the sky. They need to jump yesterday. Oh my. The Cyclone's a whirlwind of destruction, and the entire army, GuMiho, drops to 117 supply. Maru with a complete victory. The Ravens negating everything. And the battlecruisers easily taken down by the Cyclones without the siege tanks to contest. An unmitigated disaster. GuMiho's admirable dedication as the Admiral to the fleet will cost him a huge amount of resources, and honestly maybe the game. GuMiho put his entire bank into switching into battlecruisers, and it's gone. He has to jump away. Oh, that's not gonna work. The battlecruisers jump in, get scrambled, and then fried, and then it's over easy. That's why you don't put your eggs in the battlecruiser basket. Just like my grandpappy used to say. Yamato Cannon's done. Unfortunately, there's only 2 battlecruisers and 8 siege tanks, and that's GuMiho's entire army. Oh, Gumi, no. This is a bit of a Gumi throw. His supply is so Gumi low. I don't know where he's gonna Gumi go. The Cyclones! Oh my, if they lock on Yamato Cannon, should be enough. Ain't no kill like overkill. But Maru now has 9 Ravens and counting. He has half the map. And GuMiho has been... He had such great moves early on. But now Maru has taken so much. He's going to have all the gas he ever wanted, which really feeds into this kind of crazy hybrid sort of composition. Cyclone, Viking, Raven. The scan, just, I mean... more scans in a Costco checkout. And +3 plating. If GuMiho can max out, there's... Oh, he just unleashed an entire volley of scans. 4 scans at once from Maru. He's got the full eyes on the composition. 15 Ravens. But if GuMiho has enough army supply, there's a dream. Okay? It's a very small but possible dream. If the Ravens, oh well, they're just dismantling. Thing is, even a couple tanks might be enough. Except there aren't a couple tanks. He slaps down all the turrets. There are 3 more tanks on the back line. Those Cyclones are so fragile. The Vikings hit the deck. I think they forgot they could land. And Maru, well, Cyclones mostly in shambles right now. Ravens, for the most part, survived. Yep, Maru did not lose a... GuMiho didn't kill a single Raven. I don't even know how that's possible. But here we are. There's 19 of them now. And the landed Viking and air Viking army. Ravens, Vikings, and clones. I'm calling this the whirlwind composition. You build the cyclones, you reap the whirlwind. Something like that. Pretend I said something profound. Please clap. And like and subscribe. Some real optimistic Hellion run by. 27 Vikings, 6 siege tanks, and 2 battle cruisers for GuMiho. The true Terran's Terran. Plus 3 ship weapons, the planetary fortress. So all Terran buildings are mechanical, which means they take extra damage from Vikings on the ground. Maru carving out a couple tanks. He doesn't have enough Ravens to scramble every Viking, right? Right? Well, actually, the Vikings on the ground are a pretty good counter to the Cyclones. In a weird, like, the auto turret's coming out. What am I watching? This is one of the weirdest fights I've ever seen. The Dorito-dusted Vikings getting picked off. Maru doesn't have high-sec auto-track. Wait, where did the battle cruisers come from? He jumped to intercept, but he gets knocked down easily. GuMiho actually... Well, he didn't lose the fight. He still has only killed 2 Ravens. Maru has lost 14 throughout, but he still has 17 with 4 more on the way. Everybody loves Ravens, but especially Maru. GuMiho dropping his Vikings down. Is it easier to repair them when they're on the ground? At least for the SCV's mental health. Another just volley of scans. The Raven flock, a murder of Ravens, scrambles the tank line, locks the entire tank line down. The auto turrets, the landed Vikings aren't in position. They can't waddle their way forward in time. Now Maru even added a siege tank in. Probably just now remembering he can build those too. It's been such an odd, like, dynamic shift between them. There's a couple battlecruisers in the mix. Another volley just rapid fires them out. The Vikings on the ground, the Cyclones, the Ravens making it very hard to see on either side between the interference matrices. But if you look at the supply, that certainly tells a story. Nevermore, say the Ravens. And now, Maru takes a decisive victory. Maru switching his... He abandoned Bio after building 3 barracks. I've never seen that dramatic of a switch. I think ever. In Terran versus Terran. He didn't build stim, he didn't build add-ons, but building 450 minerals of barracks at least usually means you'll play with them for a bit. But Maru didn't even build a marine. He turned them into overlords later. That's how decisive he was. And if he hadn't done it at that moment, if he had built a few marines and then decided to go mech, he would have died. Guaranteed. No chance. The only reason he was able to bring it back at all is because he made such a decisive switch. It almost got him killed as well, but... Well, you see these two on display. Maru with the technical and mechanical skill, but GuMiho with the tactics and the strategy. When well controlled, the Ravens are superior, as we see here, but... What a game. As we go into game 2. Yes, we just got started. I'm exhausted. Oh my god. Imagine playing. I know it's hard to, right? Ultra love. No ultras here. No love for them either. As we've switched colors, which is a little more annoying in mirror matchups when they do that. But here we are. The Cyclone. Now, I talk about the Cyclone as a glass cannon, and it truly is. But if there's nothing left to break your glass, I hadn't considered 20 Ravens being a complement to the Cyclones. everything in that army is so expensive. You know, somewhat amusingly and mildly ironically, the counter to all of that is Marine Marauder. Relatively cheap units that are not really affected by the Ravens and are much more cost-effective at scale than Cyclones. The Cyclones were very good there because they're mobile and they can fight the expensive mech units when they're not ready. And sometimes they're not ready because of the interference matrix, sometimes they're not ready, they're out of position. But now, the ultimate, if we had gone full circle into like a Marine Marauder late game, I think at some point it just doesn't really work anymore. There are too many planetaries, there are too many scans. I think eventually someone takes air superiority, and that usually is enough to decide it. Though, it was quite a gray area in that match. Oh, there's so much to think about. And thank you. If you made it this far, statistically, you're amazing. And also, I've been there. The algorithm has always been rough on mirror matches. I think a lot of people see a mirror match and they're like, well, variety's the spice of life and spice must flow. But sometimes watching Terrans obliterate each other, Zergs or Protoss. So I'm going, if there continues to be this level of support, at least comparable to other matches, then I'll try to be showing more mirror matches. I'm not saying they're bad. I'm saying that they just, not you, dear friend, but many people are less interested, it seems. The thing is, sometimes you get the greatest strategy out of mirror matches. Like, the non-mirror matches are so figured out that you can almost cast them and predict them blindfolded. Terran versus Protoss, Blink Stalkers, Protoss versus Zerg, Oracles. Terran versus Zerg, Reaper, Hellion. There's a little bit of variety in there, but especially with a new patch changing up things like the Cyclone, or in ZVZ, like the quick. What? What? GuMiho, this isn't your base. He did not respect that bunker at all. Hello? He gets in. Okay. Well, that's enough filler commentary, I guess. There's a... GuMiho just runs into the base. He's not gonna get out, right? What a gruesome death. Where were we? GuMiho just making a casual Banshee now. No cloak. Who just makes a Banshee in TVT? Especially when Cyclones exist. So, Maru gets in, he spots this. He's going to think that's a Raven. Like, based on everything, he's going to think that GuMiho was building a Raven. Thing is, the counter to a Banshee is about the same as a Raven, so... And that counter can be having a Viking on patrol right outside your base. In fact, that's better than against a Raven, because a Raven at least can build auto turrets. So, I'm not entirely sure what the one uncloaked Banshee is supposed to do. Yep, scouting mission complete. Alright, well, that did not work. But at least he didn't lose it, and you know what? Maybe it'll be helpful later. We'll see. Still... not exactly sure what he's trying to accomplish, but here we are. And now Maru will actually be going bio. GuMiho, on the other hand, another factory in production. Gonna make it happen again. Not a fluke, but instead, and this is a much smaller map, though still pretty easy to play defensively. Maybe that's just how GuMiho plays it nowadays. With the changes to the Cyclone. He wants the Cyclone to try to snipe off that Viking, but not quite in range. Now, a Raven. Oh, no. Well, that's unfortunate. The scan gets it from downtown. And in fact, Maru, despite going by, was going to get the three-eyed Raven. as well as interference matrix. Actually, no, only 2 ravens. He's building a 3rd now. Stop trying to make the Banshee work, GuMiho. It's not gonna work. GuMiho is streets ahead of the meta right now. 1 uncloaked Banshee to bait them into trying to counter... Well, here's the thing. If he baits him into building interference matrix, that's still going to be good for Maru because GuMiho has a very vulnerable army to that particular ability. His attack is going to be 4 siege tanks, 4 Vikings, a partridge, and a pear tree. As well as, oh my god, the bait! And a cyclone. Yeah, he's setting the hook. It's not gonna work, right? Oh, there's a siege tank. It's just 1. It couldn't be so bad. Oh, but wait! There's more. And now the command center under fire. Actually taking a lot of damage with the combination of that cyclone. Okay, wait a second. The SCVs have to be pulled off the line. They will repair. But a siege tank has already moved up. GuMiho gonna be sieging the main base. Oh my. What is that, GuMiho? What are you doing? Fusion core. Oh my. GuMiho rushing battle cruise. Oh my. The Gumi god. He doesn't care. It doesn't matter what his opponent's doing. All roads lead to battle cruisers. I can't believe. Last game, it kind of made sense. Here, it feels like a matter of principle. GuMiho managed to drive Maru out of this position. He's zoning out with the Vikings, but there's this awkward scenario where Maru might be able to just go around. But that Cyclone on the high ground getting a lot of damage on the siege tank. We'll get... Oh, not quite taken out. Oh, now he's just... Now he finally gets it. Looks like the Cyclone got taken out. Maru looking to scramble from the back. The Ravens... Oh, he got every single one. Maru taking his sweet time moving in with the Marines, but I think he'll be there with plenty to spare. Just swipes the tanks from the field yet again. Fool me once, and apparently GuMiho will be fooled again. There's a battle cruiser. He's truly a Bronze League hero. He's like, I'm going battle cruiser. Why? Because I want to. He does have siege tanks jammed into some nice spots. Medivacs, why is there a roving Viking? What is going on? Again, the Viking raiding party. GuMiho, it's like, well, Vikings are... They harass your workers. And they terrorize the countryside, right? Like, that's what they do. Good thing they brought their own ships. I'm agreeing more and more with the comment that GuMiho is the only true strategy player, especially for Terran. Vikings on the ground. The battlecruiser Viking harass. Are you insane? Maru, where his Marines are running into GuMiho's base. I think he tried to drop him out. It did not go well. And he was woefully under-equipped to deal with this. He's trading with the Viking. The battlecruiser's still going to work. What are you going to fight with Marines? Somehow still kind of a viable counter, but Marines will stand, but the battlecruiser stoically glides away. And I think GuMiho's way ahead now. Who am I? The engineering base! If he focused his fire, he actually probably could have killed one of them, but unfortunately splitting the damage. 21 SCVs dead! And GuMiho has 4 bases and another command center already done. GuMiho's in a pole position right now. Maru just had the rug taken out from under him. All right. He thought he had a nice, coherent Marine tank push after cleaning up GuMiho's army. But there is something to be said for initiative, especially in Terran versus Terran. Just because Maru cleaned up the tanks on that side of the map doesn't mean he can translate that into damage on the other side. Because the amount of effort and time it took to dislodge them allowed GuMiho to carve out enough space for not only a 4th base, but battle cruisers. Well, GuMiho's now adding some Cyclones in. Maru will have 3-3. GuMiho doesn't even have upgrades. His units are just good as they are. Okay? Battle cruisers, siege tanks. They do very much benefit from upgrades, but wanted to make sure. It is kind of crazy that he's only now closing in on 1-1 on the ground. Oh, he has triple armory. Of course he does. Oh. Triple armory upgrades. 1 marine. Incineroar. Oh, wow. Oh. That's pretty hardcore. GuMiho's army is 12 Vikings, 12 siege tanks. The Banshee lived. It's in the army. The moral support Banshee. There to give intel on the enemy base. It's the only one that's been there. And then he calls in orbital scans and says, Banshee, why are you even here? We can just scan from orbit. It's a matter of principle, though. He has so many Vikings, he's not even scared of the Ravens anymore. And there aren't even enough Ravens to scramble this. How do you even fight as Maru? He has air superiority and more siege tanks. A lot more siege tanks. The Marines can't get close. The Banshee's still helping. Actually, the Banshee might help dislodge these tanks. Or it may just die. Oh my god, would you find it? The battle cruisers jump in! The tactical dunk! Well, I mean, more like a layup, but here we are. 2 shots from the free throw line. The Yamato cannons wipe out the siege tanks. And here comes Gumi Bro. The siege tank shoving forward. And Maru is getting stiff-armed out of the game right now. I don't care if you have 3-3 upgrades. That army cannot compete with this. The Ravens are dying to the Vikings. He's gonna try to scramble. Half the tanks. That's 1/2 of what he needed. The Vikings are knocking the medevacs out of the sky. Maru's supply. The rocks drop and kill the tanks. It doesn't matter. GuMiho strikes back. We're all tied up. 1-1. Wow. GuMiho proving decisive action is better than the correct action. I don't think on paper battle cruisers or Banshee into like a random tank push into battle cruisers, that shouldn't, with many asterisks, work. But here we are. The Admiral calls in the fleet. 2 for 2 so far. Honestly, on King's Cove, it felt like a... Like the thing you do in the late game. You build battlecruisers. But Maru truly embraced the Ravens. This time around, the weak and malleable flesh of the Marines was the weak point. Compared to GuMiho's brave and well-polished siege tank Viking army. And I'm a totally unbiased caster, but I think GuMiho is a genius and Maru weak and sad for making Marines. I have spoken. Game 3, Frostline. And we're all tied up. An even score. Where are you going? Oh, Maru. Oh, have some respect. Proxy regs? Really? How mundane. No. Typical Maru. Will GuMiho scout for it? There are a few players who know Maru better. GuMiho, he's one, oh no. Oh, he's one Rax expanding. This is very bad. He may be dead. Unless he has the best Reaper micro. Yes, this is very bad. With a gas first, usually you can be in an okay spot as long as you don't lose the first Reaper because you're able to get a factory in a timely fashion. And you'll have either a Hellion or maybe even a Cyclone by the time the Reapers get out of hand. GuMiho's factory is very late. And he's building a Marine. Oh, this is bad. Wait. He's moving into position to scout for a Reaper, but... Maru's waiting. Wow, he's going all out. He's waiting until the normal timing, at least. I don't know if he'll wait for 2 Reapers. I think so. But he's trying to wait until the normal timing for a Reaper to come in, which is like 2:15. If it's coming all the way across the map. Here we are. Reapers come in. Marine and Reaper for GuMiho. Gonna want to pull an SCV or 2. If he can get one, that'd be huge. He cannot. Hellion's about to come out. 1 SCV dead. Hellion comes out. Gonna try to chase. He gets 1. And, well, that could have gone worse. Certainly. Getting any Reapers is pretty huge here. Though the command center will be delayed, probably indefinitely. SCV coming down. Reaper Hellion doesn't beat this, but it can. 2 Hellions makes this a lot more complicated, though. GuMiho. Does he just hold? Because he did go Marine first, so he could get a factory quicker, which makes that statement I was making about the 2 gas. It's still true because GuMiho skipped the first Reaper to get his factory and then built a Reaper. So again, the strategery from GuMiho serves him incredibly well. If he had delayed that factory any further, he would have been losing SCVs. Like, the Hellion came out as the Reaper was freely killing SCVs. So another 20 seconds. Who knows how many? 4 or 5 at least. And now, the turntables have turned and DJ GuMiho is dropping the base down into the orange. The grenades on either side, they don't discriminate though. Whoever gets hit. Oh, well, GuMiho now, with less Reapers, loses the Hellion, gets into the main. He delayed the command center. There are multiple Reaper jump locations because of course there are. Otherwise the Terrans would be frustrated and we don't want that. Fortunately, the Terrans will die here no matter what. GuMiho trying to turn the tables, but he's surrounded. Can he get at least 1 kill? No! He gets gunned down in the snow. And now GuMiho with Interference Matrix on the way. So where does... I think GuMiho is ahead, but that's a lot of Reapers for Maru. This is a hectic game. I love GuMiho's adaptation. He has a safe expand build here, which I may have to steal because the ladder's mostly Terran nowadays, but... 8 Reapers, 2 Hellions, and a medevac. Yeah, sure, why not? With a barracks to scout forward. A single Cyclone, but the siege tank. The siege tank is such a huge deal here. Interference Matrix is not done. If he has Interference Matrix, he could scramble the medevac and keep the Reapers from getting out. Oh no, his Marines are getting stuck shooting at the barracks. I guess he's just gonna let the depot go. But it's actually drawing the A move of the Marines here. You gotta be a little careful. Auto turret used. This is still a weird amount of units to deal with for GuMiho. Maru's going for Hyperflight Banshee, which is something we may talk about if the game continues more than 30 more seconds. Auto turret drop down. He can pick up. Oh, but if he locks, he gets the lock and knocks them all out of the sky. No survivors. There's still the bear. Land it. He's trying to land it on the add-on, which technically will steal the add-on. But it does not work. Oh, and it's over. And Maru just taps out. GuMiho with one of the best proxy Rex defense. Actually, that's a genius build. It still relies on really good micro, but it's a lot safer. It's a weird middle ground between the 2-gas opener and typical 1-Rex expand where you go Reaper first. I think it's explicitly to deal with that sort of proxy Rex build, to give you options. And now it kind of came down to the like you still have to micro incredibly well. You're just going to have less units, but you have the units you can use to actually drive that back. So GuMiho again showing his tactical genius, and Maru a bit predictable with the 2-Rex Reaper, and now he's down 2-1. What a series we got here. Honestly, at this level, mirror matchups, much of the time. Sometimes they're boring and back and forth with like single battles, but with players that are so different, again, they feel less... They definitely don't feel like mirror matchups. That's what I'm trying to say here. We haven't seen a single game where the unit compositions are even that similar. But that could all change as we head to Ley Lines. Very weird today. A lot of hands. But some people like that. I'm not here to judge. Say hi to your mother. Maru, bottom left. GuMiho, top right. And GuMiho already pre-walling the Reaper jump. Maru has quite a reputation. Not even bothering. So, the reason you don't wall against Terran necessarily, or at least conventionally, is because there's almost no units that are really affected by the wall. It's still helpful, deny scouting, keep like Hellions from getting in. But Reapers and Medevacs and Siege tanks and like sometimes walling off is just a liability. So walling off by default is not necessarily the right move. It's not a bad one, but there's definitely a argument to be made. I like Maru scouting for proxy Rex. Like, you know what I would do in this scenario? The projection. But he is scouting. Wait. There's a small chance he has other intentions in mind, but it looks like he is heading straight for the base. What will he do when he sees nothing at the ramp? He will scout the rest of the base and see that that's where it is. Which makes sense, but not as dramatic. Reactored Reaper with a little foyer there, a supply closet, if you would, to make sure that only they are allowed to leave. The Reaper airlock. Both sides with Reactored Reaper Hellion. The Cyclone is good, but against the amount of Reaper Hellion, you can maybe kill one or two and then the Cyclone gets overwhelmed, and that's why neither player really focusing on it. More of a sniping off key units later on. 2 Reapers versus 1 Reaper Hellion. Actually, one of the most even fights. It really does come down to micro. He gets out. A Hellion might be able to kill the SCV on the command center. Decides not to commit. Doesn't want to risk getting overwhelmed in a moment. GuMiho making a casual siege tank now. Always got to keep an eye on GuMiho's siege tanks. And a medevac. Huh. He's gonna do a casual siege tank drop. GuMiho mixing it up yet again. I feel like he has more builds in Terran versus Terran than most players do in all 3 matchups combined. He's pulled out a new one every single game. And while they haven't worked perfectly, they have done something. And I'm inspired. Oh, that siege tank. The medevac was not... What? He's just got 4 Marines in a medevac. I'm sorry, 4 Reapers. You didn't expect the Reaper vac. He picks up a Hellion too. Technically, well, Reapers can't shoot up. That single Reaper on the jump. He sees it. Oh, and now GuMiho looking to fight with his Reaper vac. He heals the Reaper while it heals. I heard you like heals. A second starport on the way for Maru. So this is where we're going. Up. Double siege tank in the medevac. Nades whipped out. If you show me mine, if you show me yours. Yep, never mind. A bunch of grenades. Oh, the Cyclone complicates things for GuMiho. If he loses 2 siege tanks in a medevac, I love how he's flying around with 2 siege tanks in a medevac. We've seen unsiege tanks, we've seen permanently siege tanks, and now we're seeing siege tanks in a medevac like it's 2016 all over again. It's like the worst version of an Archon drop. More like an Immortal drop, I guess. And here comes GuMiho yet again. Boosting into position, ready to start the siege in the main. Kind of giving it away. There's a spotting depot here, but what's the air look like? Clear. But for how long? 5 Vikings apiece, but a lot of damage dealt right off the bat. The medevac has to boost away. An awkward exchange. Scan, counter scan. Vikings hit the deck for GuMiho. The grenades actually split up the whole army. Maru now with Vikings on the ground. Vikings fighting Vikings. Siege tank still doing a lot of damage. But Maru does seem to have the numbers. And GuMiho is forced back. The Vikings on the ground deadly to one another. More Vikings. Still trying to fight each other. GuMiho trying to make something out of this. He knows he's been beaten. But the question is how hard. Alright, well. Third base is on location. There's nothing. Does he see the tank? That one tank could be huge. It's barely in position. It's gonna get shots on Maru's seat. That's actually really huge. He's hitting the tanks and doing some splash. Now hitting both sides targeting. Siege tank splits away. Vikings back in the air. Brawling with the other Vikings. One of the Vikings is on the ground, so it couldn't help out. The Raven now is going to be chased down. The tanks and Vikings hitting the orbital. Orbital completes. Flies up. Viking probably won't chase it because then it'll get taken out. GuMiho chases down the Raven, knocks it out of the sky. Yep, those are siege tanks. And, all right. And that's the end of that. Maru has that second starport on the low ground at the natural. Successfully hidden from the scan. Which I think threw GuMiho off here. The armies are pure siege tank Viking. 7 siege tanks, or 7 Vikings and 4 siege tanks for Maru, 4 Vikings and 3 siege tanks for GuMiho. Which does seem problematic. But that scan, not all those siege tanks are full HP. What a standoff. Well, I don't think there's really much standing involved, but that command center is very vulnerable. GuMiho using it as a big old heap and helping a bait here. That siege tank, oh my. It is right on the edge. The SCVs, it's going to happen. Something's going to happen. They can't just keep doing this. The SCVs are transferring. GuMiho under duress. He actually unsieged 3 of the tanks. He only has 1 left. It won't even take out 1 tank. GuMiho's actually driving this all the way back. Almost gets another Viking on the way out. Now I expect the battlecruiser transition. No, Magfield accelerator, but still. Maru building his 4th base on location. Both sides finally done brawling it out with the early game units and able to take their macro turn. GuMiho's been on 2 factories and 1 starport. Maru has been on 2 starports and 1 factory. So that air control has paid off, but now he needs some ground support. Maru has a slight worker lead, and having that 4th base on location, I think he's been mining significantly more gas for a while now, too. Yeah, he's had a bit of a lead there. He's mined 500 more in total. And using the mules to mine the small mineral patch here, which will unlock the rich Vespine geyser. That's how that works. Mules make it a lot easier. Which seems like a bit of a biased mechanic, but I guess it's fair here. As he's waiting. Maru was waiting for minerals to mine so we could slap down that rich Vespine gas, which is such a key part of supporting the mech army. And apparently, mech is the way to go. The only bio we've seen so far got completely butchered. This is quite a development. For so long, it's been Marine Tank with some Ravens against Marine Tank, maybe with some Ravens. Maybe some Viking Wars, but mech was the exception, not the rule. Then again, GuMiho is in form, so... Another awkward exchange. Those are Magfield Vikings. They do a lot of damage. I mean, without Magfield, they still do a lot of damage, but they do 50% more lots, so... Which is 1.5 lots in that case. Moving on. Snipes off the sensor tower. 4 command centers on the way for both sides. More CCs right now than a badly formatted corporate email in production. And multiple factories, upgrades. We really just pummeled each other into almost catatonic state. At least back into their corners. GuMiho sharking around with some Cyclones. Maru is once again angling towards the Ravens. He's getting interference matrix now. Did GuMiho get interference? No. The only upgrades at all for anyone are GuMiho with Blue Flame and Magfield Accelerate. We're 12 minutes in. Four more starports for GuMiho. Maru's building a couple Ravens at a time. Will we see the fusion core? Or is he going to hop on the Raven train? Oh, GuMiho. I'm just waiting. GuMiho's nearly... Well, they're both nearly maxed out. I feel a well-deserved rest. The Liberators. looking to turn it around. But he scans the Liberators and realizes he doesn't want to contest it. There's so many command centers. 5 orbitals for GuMiho, 7 for Maru. And... Fusion Core! I'm gonna call it 4 for 4 games because he didn't get an opportunity to build it in the last game because he won too quickly. But I'll give him, like, that was an honorary Fusion Core. Those siege tanks in position to shell the mineral line, but the Liberator, oh, the Scandinavia Vikings comes in, knocks it out of the sky. A second one as well. Fusion Core is nearly done. Ravens for GuMiho. He's getting Interference Matrix now as well. Sprinkling everything in. The tank lines continue. Vikings on deck. Just crush the tanks. How many tanks left? GuMiho only has 5. Maru has stolen GuMiho's strategy of mass siege tank Viking. 16 siege tanks, 17 Vikings. He's still got 8 Ravens above. Maru actually has, like, the ideal composition for this. The Cyclones are good, but siege tanks with air support are just better. The key part of Game 1 was that GuMiho could not maintain air superiority. Maru has grabbed it, and he's not going to let go easily. +2, mech weapons and armor about to complete. For for Maru. GuMiho a few seconds behind. GuMiho scrambles all 4 tanks moments before the Cyclones come in. And are we going into a base trade? How does this work? Meanwhile, the Vikings will land on top of the tanks. Maybe not the ideal position. Oh. They will kill the tanks, but he's going to lose most of his Vikings doing it. All but 1. Oh, Gumi throw. No, you can't lose 15 Vikings to kill the tanks. That... Yeah, Maru killed 11 Vikings. I guess GuMiho killed 5 in this battle, but that feels like a pretty big potential blunder. GuMiho's filling in a bunch of tanks himself. Building mass Ravens as well, oh my. But there's still Vikings. Cyclones locking on. Interference matrices. Scrambles every turrets. Vikings. Siege tanks. And Maru. Well, I think Maru may have just won the game. There's still a few details to work out here, but it's 6 Ravens and 10 Vikings to 3 Ravens and 2 Vikings.
The numbers don't lie, and they spell disaster for you.
GuMiho in a lot of trouble here. He needs something. He's got mass helium. He just doesn't have that much gas. He didn't have Maru's focus on mining at that gas down the center. Planetary Fortress is taken out. Cyclones to GG. We're going to Game 5. As Maru seems to have adapted to GuMiho's style and has turned it on its head. And now, the decider. What a series. I have no idea. Maru's got a Proxy Rex again. That's my prediction. It looked like GuMiho had what it took there, but Maru with the hidden starport focused so much. It's super interesting how most other builds for Terran and in other matchups, the focus on getting your production up. Whereas Terran units are so good at countering Terran units that you don't need much production. You just need the right units before they have them. One more Viking, one more siege tank. That could be one more win. We go to the Reef to decide it. Abyssal Reef. Game number 5. 2-2. And yet again, to make it confusing for everyone back at home and keep you on your toes, they've switched colors. Maru is in the red in the top left, GuMiho in the blue in the bottom right. Now, this makes sense. As we all know, red is the faster color. Maru the much faster player, but blue is the cooler color. And GuMiho is the cooler player. I say as a completely unbiased caster. Like and subscribe. Maru not sending any SCVs out, building a barracks in his own base. Big breakthrough for him. I do wonder now. Does GuMiho have any more cards to play? As every game has been a different flavor. And again, 2 gas right off the bat. Which is a shift from last game as well. Gonna wall off the actual ramp this time. I wonder how many of his builds are specific to the maps as well. And how you wall off and how you can use the Reaper jump locations and add-ons and all that. There are plenty of builds, especially early game builds, that revolve around what side of the map you're on. Like if your opponent has their add-ons facing in a more vulnerable position. They're relatively rare, but occasionally they crop up. And it is dependent on the RNG of which side of the map you spawn on. I doubt too many of those are being showcased here, but if you want something to latch onto. The Reapers are scouring. Both sides are looking around their base for, well, remnants of their opponent's base. GuMiho expands on the low ground. Maru as well, just a little later. Both of them, let's see, 3 and 2 in gas. GuMiho just went back to 3 in gas as well. There's a lot of pulling a bit out of gas and then back into it. In order to expand quickly while not slowing down your tech in TVT. And deciding when exactly to do so can have significant consequences. Like, for example, Maru has a quicker starport, but no tech lab on his factory, at least not as quickly. But now GuMiho actually built the tech lab on his barracks, so he could have it switched over to the factory now. And he's going to have a cyclone earlier than Maru. That's not necessarily good or bad, it's just how he chose to set up the build. We'll see if that cyclone pays off more than the marine tank. Maru, is he using a GuMiho build? The early siege tank push, and now this time GuMiho's going for the cyclone. And flipping over probably a Raven? No, the uncloaked Banshee. Huh. Which is actually really good against a siege tank push, now that I think about it. Because the only anti-air will be a handful of Marines, which are easily dispatched. If you can even just pressure the siege tank, that takes all the wind out of this push. Oh my. The Hellion on the high ground. And he got away with it too. He scouted it. And now he's able to get the jump with the Cyclones. Here comes the tank. Springing into action. He actually locked on. He got the Raven, or not the Raven, the Reaper as well. The uncloaked Banshee. But the double lock on the tank, he saves it with the medevac. But GuMiho has shut this down harder than a blue screen computer. And now, Maru forced to tuck back into the medevac and head home. Very lucky he didn't get that one picked off. GuMiho, more than prepared. He didn't overreact. He reacted just perfectly there. And now Maru, gonna have to play a bit of a guessing game. Because he has no pressure on GuMiho. He knows he has Cyclones, uncloaked Banshee, but Maru has to just hedge his bets, whereas GuMiho is very aware of what options Maru has. He's still just building he's got a second Banshee. And he's building mech every game. All we need is the fusion core, and then... the Banshees. He intercepts the medevac. Thankfully, there's nothing in it. It was there for scouting, but still, losing that option certainly doesn't help. Is there a Cyclone? Maru has 2 Cyclones, but they're both in the main. GuMiho actually going to be able to kill a few SCVs, so can't overstay his welcome. Gonna see the Cyclones, which are not quite quick enough to lock on. Maru does have more SCVs, and he has a 3rd command center done. GuMiho has his 3rd base. Oh, he has an orbital on location. Never mind. GuMiho's in perfectly good spot. Reaper jumping in, gonna spot the timing. Magfield Accelerator just started for Maru. Actually picked off the SCV building the factory. And the Banshee's coming in from the back, kiting the Marines away, killing a few SCVs. The Cyclone's a bit out of position. He gets a lock. He's gonna knock out 1 Banshee. Scan. GuMiho's got his production up way quicker here. And he has a 3rd base already. Maru is, and now he's gonna lose a Cyclone. Maru cannot afford to lose many more units before being in a desperate position. He does have the Ravens. GuMiho skipped the Ravens. Instead, he went for the Banshees and then Vikings. So, will the Ravens be enough? They could be. And so far, Maru's Raven control has been top-notch. But GuMiho, again, is moving out a lot earlier than you might expect, with just enough units to be a existential threat. A siege tank in range. I don't know if it's quite in range of the mineral line, but of the supply depots nearby, and the Banshee just coming in. The Cyclones intercepting. Should be able to take it out. Both sides researching Magfield Accelerator. Knocks the Banshee out of the sky. Vikings. Does Maru have the Viking lead? 4-4. But with the Ravens... well, Maru down 30 supply. He's building the same units with less economy, worse upgrades, and less of those units. It's just the Raven. The only advantage he has are the Ravens. A very tense standoff here, but GuMiho knows what he has. He's trying to bait Maru into overcommitting, because if Maru extends just a little too far, he loses the game. Whereas even if GuMiho loses this army, it's very likely he'll be okay back at home. We've seen this before in this series, with GuMiho just taking up a forward position and forcing Maru to deal with it. And even if he ends up losing the tanks, it's taken so much time and effort to do so. GuMiho just expanding wherever he wants. He's already reached the mass expansion stage. Well, probably should quite be there yet. 74 SCVs. Just now setting up his 4th, but he's getting there very quickly. Meanwhile, Maru is trying to make sure he doesn't outright die because he's slightly out of position. Maru trying to sneak a base in the corner. It's optimistic. He might get away with it. Nope. What? Oh, he's spotted. All right. Oh, there you go. Should be, yeah, immediate cancel. Scans. Keeping tabs on things. GuMiho has the air control. Well, actually, it's 10 Vikings to 10. I take it back. With 3 Ravens. Maru has tentative air control. There's still Cyclones on the ground, which could easily knock a few air units out of the sky if you're slightly out of position. GuMiho's on solid 4 bases. Maru just now trying to take a 4th on the high ground, which is a bit of a vulnerable location. If GuMiho gets behind it with siege tanks, he can knock out the mineral line. Oh, he could just go for the natural as well. Shoving his way over to the side. And I guess we're fighting? GuMiho, he's flanking it from the other side as well. Just brute forcing forward. Tries to scramble some tanks. The Ravens still have plenty of energy. But GuMiho just goes for it. And there's not enough to stop him. The heavy metal push. Siege tanks and Hellbats just powering through. And GuMiho carves a path. The siege tanks, using the scans, doesn't care about air superiority. He just has overwhelming firepower. The Vikings hit the deck to try to salvage the situation. The siege tanks will be cleared out, but the 3rd base is under direct fire. The Vikings are thinning in number, the Ravens are out of energy, and GuMiho takes out Maru 3-2 with a decisive command of the most entertaining Terran army. Only begrudgingly going Ravens. In fact, I think he lost that first game on King's Cove because he refused to go Ravens, or at least shied away from them in favor of battle cruisers. So GuMiho, the highest level Bronze League hero in StarCraft 2. And who knew Bronze was better than Maru? What a series. And that was from Homestory Cup 26. Thank you to Take TV as well for putting it on. And thank you for watching. I hope it made your day, decent chunk of it, a little bit better. And if you got the means of motivation, be awesome to check out Patreon or YouTube membership. But I hear liking and subscribing is still free, at least for now. So thank you for watching. I'll see you next time. Good luck, have fun. Stay chill.